Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Chalmers, and I'm President and CEO of Energy Fuels. It's my pleasure today to be talking to you about our company. Energy Fuels is the leading U.S. producer of uranium and vanadium, and we're very proud of that. During my talk today, I'll give you a complete overview of the company, but highlighting certainly the improving uranium markets for uranium. The price of uranium, I think, has been the best performer in 2020. I'll also talk about the strong U.S. government support for uranium mining, and there's been some exciting things happening there over the course of the last particularly couple weeks, and the entrance of Energy Fuels into a new opportunity, rare earth element processing, and we're very excited about that. So anyways, let's get started. I will likely be making some forward-looking statements, so you can look at the disclaimers at the end of this presentation. Just some of the investment themes of the company. First of all, as I said, we're the largest U.S. producer of uranium, and we have been for the last 3-4 years. We have more assets, we have more resources, and we can capitalize on improvements of uranium prices faster and quicker than any of our peers. It's indisputable. Over the course of the last 15 years, we produced 34% of all uranium, primary uranium produced in the United States. We're very proud of that. The only one that was ahead of us on that was Cameco Corporation with their assets in the United States. If you take the two companies and add them together, the two companies produce 85% of the uranium in the United States for the last 15 years. I'll talk about that more in a second. Recently, and largely because of the efforts of our company, we've been getting some very strong signals from the U.S. government supporting U.S. uranium mining and conversion and enrichment, the first 3 steps of the nuclear fuel cycle. I'll talk about that more too in a second. The rare earth opportunity, something that we just started and announced just a few weeks ago, getting very, very keen interest from a number of parties on that front. And lastly, before I get into the other slides, we have the strongest balance sheet of anyone in the space. We have a very substantial balance sheet, and we're very proud of that, and that puts us in a very strong position. Okay, this is the footprint of where we are in the United States. We have projects from Wyoming all the way down to South Texas. You can see the stars, and the 2 green stars are in situ recovery projects, fully permitted, fully constructed, operable, and on standby. 1 star is the Nichols Ranch project in northern Wyoming, and we just recently put it on standby because of lower uranium prices, and Alta Mesa in southern Texas. The other star is a blue star, and that's the White Mesa Mill in southwestern Utah. That is our conventional processing facility, and that is really our crown jewel as a company because it is also a uranium processing facility, the only primary vanadium processing facility in the United States, and we hope at some stage to be the only or one of the most significant rare earth processing centers in the United States as well. This just continues to highlight what I said at the beginning of the presentation about our company, which is shown in blue over the last 15 years, and Cameco Corporation in gray, how the two companies provided or produced 85% of the uranium produced in the United States over that period of time. And I think this graph really speaks volumes because when you look at URANIUM, now granted they were not producing 15 years ago, and Uranium One, if you combine the 4 companies, that is 97% of all newly produced uranium in the United States in a 15-year period. So it speaks volumes that there's really a very small team of people that have produced material quantities of uranium in the last 15 years, and we're proud to be the leader outside of Cameco in that regard. Now, talking a little bit about U.S. government support, the U.S. government released its long-awaited Nuclear Fuel Working Group report just about a week ago. That is the strongest message from the U.S. government in decades supporting U.S. uranium mining, and we think it sends a very clear message, not just here in the United States, but around the world. It's a nonpartisan policy document. It supports a number of various solutions to support U.S. uranium miners, and we find it to be very powerful. The report also provides a strong justification for congressional appropriations and executive actions, including support for U.S. national security and clean energy independence, countering the Russian influence in U.S. Matters. Certainly, we've seen what the Russians have been doing lately with oil and gas, and also put the United States back as a leader in nuclear technologies around the world, where we basically ceded that to the Russians and the Chinese in the past decade or so, and exporting some of that technology to other countries. Also promoting nuclear safety and nuclear non-proliferation initiatives, and while at the same time creating jobs for Americans. Part of the report, and announced actually before the report, President Trump requested appropriations in the 2021 budget totaling $150 million to support uranium mining and conversion over a 10-year period of time. So that's a total of $1.5 billion of support. It's still subject to appropriations, but again, we think that it's very clear that the United States does not want to be as dependent as they have been on nuclear fuel products in the last number of years. In addition, there's a provision on demand of the government, if they decide they want to go forward with increasing the size of the American Assured Fuel Supply. It's called the AAFS, which is basically increasing the number of fuel loads for nuclear power plants in the United States in the case there is a disruption. The Department of Energy will no longer barter uranium for some of their cleanup activities. The Russian suspension agreement, which has been in place for a couple decades, is currently being renegotiated, and to prevent Russian uranium from unfairly being brought into the U.S. markets. It also provides the Nuclear Regulatory Commission the ability to deny imports from fabricated nuclear fuel from Russia, and also includes provisions for streamlining of land and access issues in the United States. So it's really a very well-written policy document, and we're very proud that we had a very large role in getting the attention on the government and on the nuclear fuel cycle, that this is a truly a nuclear or a national security issue. Now, let's talk about uranium prices. Certainly in the last 4 to 5 weeks, because of supply disruptions, partially and largely because of COVID-19, the price of uranium has increased 34% very quickly. And actually that 34%, it's greater than that. I think its spot price is currently $34 plus. So it has certainly improved the spot pricing outlook at this point in time, and we're very excited that it's putting some attention back on the impact that supply disruptions can have on this sector. Now, rare earth elements, as I said, this is a new area for us as a company, and but if you go back in July of 2019, President Trump issued a series of presidential determinations of support for U.S. rare earth production. The United States and the world has become almost completely dependent on the Chinese for rare earths. Chinese produce about 80 or 90% of the rare earths produced in the world. And America, just like they are realizing on all critical materials, not just things like uranium, vanadium, and rare earths, but look what we've seen during the COVID-19 crisis with medical supplies. So this is an area that, as I said, we're very excited about. Having the White Mesa mill basically fully constructed, permitted to handle low-level radioactive materials like uranium and thorium puts us in a very, very unique position. I mean, typically rare earths have low levels of radioactivity, which is a problem for many people that want to produce rare earths, and that is our core business. So we believe that White Mesa is ideally suited to be a processing center in the United States. It's early days, but as I said, watch this space. It's very exciting for us and our investors. Now, this slide just kind of shows where we are in terms of our peer group in North America. We're a very strong competitive position. Our market cap is a little north of $200 million, but I talked earlier about a very strong balance sheet and cash working capital position. At the end of 2019, we had north of $40 million of cash investments or working capital, inventory mainly, and we raised about $19 million just before the crash, the COVID crash in the first quarter of 2020. So we're in a very strong position. We also have large quantities of inventory. We have, at the beginning of this year, we had 520,000 pounds of uranium, but we also have large inventories, about 1.6 to 1.7 million pounds of vanadium. So as the market prices improve, we get offsetting increase in working capital with those higher prices. We're also the only company in the North America that has both in situ recovery and conventional in North America. We are the only primary producer of vanadium. We also do what we call alternate feed, which is a recycling of low-level products. And hopefully soon, we will add rare earth processing as well. But as I said, early days for that. So we have a significant optionality that none of our peers have. And that is something that's a key differentiator of Energy Fuels with others in this space. So this just kind of re-summarizes what I just said about our cash and working capital position and our inventory position. We have limited debt. We do have $16 million of convertibles that are due at the end of 2020. We have enough cash in the bank to cover that off if we elect to just pay them off in cash. They can be converted to shares at our election if we elect to do so. So now, just in closing, just summarizing what I've already talked about, we have unmatched ability to increase low-cost U.S. uranium production quicker, faster than any of our peers, and that's indisputable. We have more facilities, more resources than any other company. We have 3 production sites, fully licensed and permitted production sites. Most companies at best have 1, and we have 3. We've been the largest producer of uranium over the past several years, the strongest balance sheet, and no one has our optionality with the uranium, vanadium, alternate feed. I didn't talk about land cleanup, but we can recycle low-level ore feeds from abandoned uranium mines in the United States and looking at the rare earths. So watch this space if you want to make an investment in the uranium area, but you don't want to be 100% tied to uranium prices. Energy Fuels is your best bet, and that is indisputable. Thank you very much, and appreciate your time.